Thanks for tuning in to the first podcast episode of 2019. This episode was meant to be all things armed forces, but due to a diary clash, we'll have to pencil that in for another time. Instead, we talk New Year's resolutions, smoking cessation with Liam Humberstone and Chris Green, and Tim and I get heated talking about vaping industry drama. Welcome to the second episode of the Totally Wicked Vape Podcast. Hi, we are Rachel and Tim, and welcome to the second episode of the Totally Wicked Vape Podcast. I'm jumping straight in. Happy New Year for number one.
Happy New Year.
Because we've not really seen each other, to be fair. New Year's resolutions, do you have any?
No. Weren't expecting that, were you? New Year's resolutions, I kind of find are things that are made to be broken. So there's no point to me. Although I have decided that in 2019 I'm going to solidify my little morning routine that sets me up well for the day. So I'd kind of dropped off with that because I'm doing a lot of working away at the minute. So it disrupts my routine. It makes me all grumpy. So I've decided I'm going back to getting my routine solid, which includes meditation and my weights in the morning, and also cooking myself some breakfast. That's always a help. It always sets you up well for the day. So mine are a bit rubbish.
No, that's not rubbish. I like it. I don't like New Year's resolutions. I'm the same as you. I think that anyone who sets a New Year's resolution normally breaks them. Sorry if you actually do them and carry them through. I don't. So I call them goals. So I have goals for 2019. And I only have one real one.
Go on.
One big one. Is to drink more water.
That's a good one. I don't think people drink enough water.
No, I don't. And it's because I actually have two. I told you a lie. So I managed to drink more water because I sat there on New Year's Eve while I was struggling to stay up till midnight, by the way. I'm so rock and roll. So while I was trying to prop my eyes open, I sat there and I thought about how many times I could remember that I had drank water the previous year. And I swear to God, I can count it on one hand. That's how bad it was for me. It's coffee and fizzy drinks for me. Coffee and fizzy drinks.
See, I drink a lot of coffee. I probably drink too much coffee. But I did drink a lot of water. When I was working more on the shop floor, we have the bottles of water in the fridges to give to customers. So you'd pick one out and there's half a litre of water and there's 500 mils. So you start that and then you just automatically have to finish it. And then you get a little bit thirsty and then you end up having another 500 mils. I've always been one, whenever I'm drinking water, especially at meals, I'll go through like 2 or 3 pints of water.
Yeah.
Don't drink it all day, but when I'm eating. But that's kind of dropped off. I tend to just be drinking a lot of coffee.
Coffee, fizzy drinks, coffee. With me, it's diet fizzy. I don't like full-fat fizzy drinks. They taste like syrup. So it's sugar-free fizzy drinks and coffee for me. And so I was like, I have to drink more water. I was getting a lot of headaches. And so I've actually been doing that as well. I have been sticking to that goal and I'm drinking about 1.5 litres of water a day, which for me is fantastic. Anybody who knows me will know that I just don't do that. But I've not had a headache.
Really? So you're seeing the benefits?
Yeah, I haven't had a headache, which was insane. And the other one is just not to buy lunch at work because, hello, saving some money. Buying lunch at work is insane. So I'm not doing that anymore. So I'm bringing disappointing noodles in every day, which is okay.
You're bringing what?
Disappointing noodles.
Disappointing noodles?
Yeah.
Is that the brand name?
No.
Or are you just disappointed in them before you even bring them into work?
But they're cheap and quick to make and they're quite filling, but they always just taste slightly of disappointment.
I'm sorry, but you've just set me off with this idea of how we would brand disappointing noodles.
It would just have my face on it.
Looking very disappointed and glum.
Not very disappointed, just always ever so slightly like while you're eating them,
Just ask Rachel. Look how disappointed she looks.
There's just a slight air of disappointment every time you eat them. I don't know. Not maybe even so much that they taste disappointing. It's more that you're disappointed that you didn't put in more effort.
You're disappointed in yourself for bringing disappointing noodles to work for dinner.
It's a weird catch-22. I don't know, but it's so much cheaper.
I hope everyone else's New Year's resolutions are a little bit more creative than ours.
They're my two goals. That's it. And I'm sticking to them both. And we are on early January, and so I'm doing well.
Well done. What date are we on? The 8th? The 8th. Yeah, well done. Cracking Rachel.
So, woo!
I managed to get out of bed at a decent time in the morning, and you've managed to not eat disappointing noodles and drink 1.5 litres of water.
We're on for a great 2019, Tim.
We've set ourselves up for a corker.
But following on from that, a lot of people's New Year's resolutions is to stop smoking. It's probably one of the biggest ones that people try and go for around this time of year. Is this is it? This is the year I'm going to stop. And it's difficult. It's always like you say. I always had that New Year's resolution. I'm going to stop smoking this year. And I never did it. I never did. And so it's always conscious. It's always a conscious time of year for me because I'm always thinking there's people struggling somewhere with trying to kick this habit, and it's always out there. So I wanted to sit down with Liam and Chris because they will introduce themselves in a minute. But I sat down and I caught up with them yesterday because there is something that we do as a company which a lot of people won't know. And it's because we can't really talk about it. And it's one of those things that we just kind of do, and it's something that people won't know about us. And I think that people are about to learn something, and that is that we actually have, who is Mr. Chris Green, who you will meet in a minute, you will hear in a moment, a smoking cessation counsellor who works for us, who you will probably know very well.
I've worked quite closely with Chris, yeah.
Because obviously he does a lot with our retail stores, and going forward for 2019, it sounds like there's some really interesting stuff coming. So we're going to dive straight into that now, and we are going to talk to Liam Humberstone and Chris Green about smoking cessation and its future in 2019. Okay, so I'm here and I'm going to sit down with Liam Humberstone and Chris Green, and we're going to talk about smoking cessation in 2019. Could you just introduce yourself and tell us who you are?
Yeah, I'm Liam Humberstone. I'm Technical Director at Totally Wicked.
And I'm Chris Green, Smoking Cessation Lead for Totally Wicked.
So the first question was going to be, why did Totally Wicked take the step of hiring a smoking cessation counsellor?
That's an interesting one. That's a really interesting one, because I think a lot of people that are involved in the e-cigarette business understand that most of our customers are smokers. But we've never been very overt as an industry about it, mainly because we can't advertise ourselves as a nicotine replacement therapy or a quit smoking aid or any of those things. But then about December 2017, I just got to thinking, we're not allowed to tell anyone that we're it, but we are it. So why not just be it? And if we're going to be that thing, then we probably need smoking cessation professionals employed by the business. So even though we're not allowed to tell anyone in any of our advertising that's what we do or what we are, we know it's what we are, so we employed a smoking cessation professional.
That's something that I didn't expect you to say. I thought there was going to be a different answer, so that's interesting. Chris, what impact do you think the service has on people who are smokers but are currently trying to make their switch to vaping?
Sorry, so...
What impact have you seen that it has on people who are making the switch to vaping, having this service?
Well, it's making a big impact because there's been a lot of confusion around vaping, certainly within stop smoking services. A lot of stop smoking services, public health departments have kind of sat on the fence with this for a number of years. I think that's probably due to lack of evidence. But as more and more services have started to get involved now, because vaping's been around for 10 years plus, so there's research coming in, there's lots of evidence coming in, so I think it's had a massive impact.
Have you seen any impact, Liam?
Yeah, we've worked. I mean, I actually met Chris because we were working on the same study together, and we met around that time. Albeit not working directly with one another, we were supplying some products for a pilot for stopping smoking, and Chris was working at the sharp end and delivering e-cigarettes as a way of quitting to people for Salford Health Improvement Service at the time. And yeah, I mean that has been quite big. We've also worked with a few NHS providers in getting them e-cigarettes. And yeah, the impact is there and the impact is real. The problem with it is it's just not widespread enough. We're in a position where around 2014, 2015, we probably peaked at something like 15% of smokers had given up using e-cigarettes. And since then, the number of vapers has stayed fairly steady. We know that we lose a few vapers to just giving up vaping at some point because I mean, I still enjoy it and carry on with it, but actually a lot of people, it's a route out of smoking. Once they're out of smoking, maybe the next thing is for them to give up vaping at some point, which is great, that's fine, that's all well and good. But I would hope that we would have continued to recruit smokers into vaping, and negative media attention is very, very much to blame for the fact that so many smokers think that vaping is just as harmful for you as smoking, and the public health message doesn't get out. And a lot of the problem is that everyone is blocked from advertising, and with those blocks from advertising, the public health message is just not strong enough compared to negative media stories.
It's interesting, I saw in a study that opinion is now at an all-time high. The opinion that people think that vaping is actually as bad as, if not worse than smoking, because of the message that is being put out there.
Well, yeah, and you have to then think about the people who have got some influence on mass media, the people who can make a real difference to public opinion, and who they might be being swayed by. And of course, it's going to be the organisations with the most money, and the organisations with the most money, believe it or not, I think actually not big tobacco. But I think there are other industries who see it as against their interests for vaping to carry on being more and more successful. And because of that, I think that there's a big lobby going on quietly and behind the scenes, just to say, no, let's not let vaping carry on and take off. Let's not let vaping take over. And we're going to fight that. And having smoking cessation within our business, having it there, that is really, really important to me, because I don't know any other way that we can fight it at the moment.
I think it's fair to say that lobbying must be really strong, because I mean, if we think about it, that figure of, I think we're looking at 40% of smokers who believe that vaping is as bad for you as smoking, doesn't seem to be coming down. And that is probably what Liam was just saying there, that the message that public health are giving out is obviously not strong enough.
Which is crazy, because the message that public health are giving out is vaping is 95% safer than smoking.
It is. That is the message that they're giving out, but it seems to be that the public, the smoking population, don't seem to be picking up on that for one reason or another. I mean, going back to what Liam was just talking about with the Salford pilot that I worked on, it's clear to see that with conventional nicotine replacement therapy, our service used to work on about 35% quit rate, 4-week quit rate with conventional NRT. And over the pilot that we did with the e-cigarettes, we were looking at a 63% quit rate.
Wow.
So the figures are there, to prove that it is the most, most popular, but certainly one that has the biggest impact. But yet that figure of 40% of smokers being misinformed doesn't seem to be dropping.
It is actually most popular now as well, but it was going to be, because it was a bit of a sea change when vaping turned up, that so many people decided that they could actually quit at the time, and Rachel was one of them, I was one of them, didn't know each other at the time, but it was around the same time. And yeah, it was a huge thing. I think it still is the most popular quit method. The thing that is so frustrating is that it's still the most popular, but it's kind of meaningless, because it has dropped so much in terms of new users, in terms of new vapers, in terms of people that are actually willing to give vaping a go. And yeah, I mean, we have to make that change.
Do you think the drop in people wanting to give it a go, because it was very different when we first started vaping, it was always an extremely positive thing, and there wasn't really much in the news, or I don't really remember reading about it so much back then, all them years ago, nearly a decade ago. But do you think that part of that drop off is because of pretty much everything that you read is negative? You never really read a positive story.
That has an effect on it. Then the other bit is, we've got to remember that 60% of current smokers have probably tried an e-cigarette and decided that it's not for them. Now, a lot of those would have tried an e-cigarette a long time ago, and you'll remember back in the mists of time, being a vapor was not easy at so many levels. No one knew what you were doing, so that everyone thought you were a little bit weird if you had an e-cigarette. That's definitely gone now. The other thing that's gone is that being able to use an e-cigarette was really difficult. It was really challenging to keep them going and running. The e-liquids that were available, they were mainly a bit horrible. Finding a good e-liquid was a challenge, and then once you got it, you just cling on to that recipe and then we used to pretend we got Vapor's tongue when we couldn't taste that flavour anymore. It's probably our atomizers were absolutely useless back in those days. So everything around it has improved, but I think a lot of the people that tried it in early days have just stayed with this decision that it's not for them.
I totally agree with that. I think that's one of the biggest difficulties that we've got. People have had a bad experience with, may have had a bad experience with it, with vaping, and the technology's moved on, and an awfully long way from what it was 5-6 years ago. And this is one of the biggest difficulties of how do you get those people back through to kind of give it another go. I mean, you've got now the motivational support that you can get from your stop smoking services that wasn't available in regards to e-cigarettes 5 or 6 years ago. But if that person's already had a bad experience, it's difficult to get them to kind of come back round again.
Of course, that makes sense. What do you think the future is for smoking cessation at Totally Wicked?
Really big, really bright.
I would say so. I mean, Public Health England have basically said that a good reputable vape store is as good as any stop smoking service. And as far as the plans that we've got for 2019, is we want to have our staff as well trained as any stop smoking service, if not better placed than any other stop smoking service. So I think it's very bright.
Well,
I can never actually get the letters all in the right order for the National Smoking Cessation Training Service. No.
NCSCT, so the National Centre for Smoking Cessation Training, which is quite a mouthful. So that's the training that we're looking for certainly all our corporate stores to begin with, and then hopefully the reseller stores to follow suit with that. So that will make our store staff level 2 smoking cessation advisors, which is just as good as any other stop smoking service.
And Liam, we're not allowed to talk about this. We're not allowed to advertise this.
No, because we'd be associating our product with people giving up smoking, which we should never be allowed to do. There's no way that anyone who sells a product that has allowed over 1.5 million of the British populace to give up smoking to be allowed to tell anyone that you can use it to give up smoking. It is madness, isn't it? It is absolute madness. And the insanity is really deep at the moment. So I know that Public Health England are really frustrated by the fact that they are currently being prevented from promoting vaping as a way of giving up smoking, and it is absolutely daft. But some powers that be have decided that the restrictions on promotion are actually for vaping in general, not for specific products. So you'll notice there's far less this year in the January health harms campaign from PHE about e-cigarettes than there has been previously. And this is the very strange environment that we're working in at the moment. And I know people are nervous about youth in the USA taking up very high strength e-cigarettes in huge numbers and knocking themselves out of nicotine. That's not happening in the UK. It's a completely different market. It's a really developed market. It's got a lot of really responsible players in it. Got very, very low youth uptake. Now is the time that people really ought to be getting behind vaping and saying, we've got a generation that can be saved from smoking.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today, and here's to the future of smoking cessation at Totally Wicked.
Thank you very much, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel.
So that was Liam and Chris talking about smoking cessation at Totally Wicked. I learnt a lot during that interview. You will know more than me.
Yeah, I've worked with Chris on a number of occasions. directly to do with the initial pilot scheme that Chris was then working for Salford City Council on. And we're also I'm working on some other stuff with Chris and Liam with regards to other pilots that we'll be doing in our store. There's some really, really interesting stuff coming up.
So that is going to be big for 2019, as Liam said, and I'm excited actually.
Yeah.
And we get to talk about it here, which is lovely, because we can't talk about it anywhere else, so nobody really knows, but now you do, so that's good. But yeah, no, I did. I learnt a lot, and I'm happy that we did that now. We had that sit down, because I had no idea that it was so big, and I had no idea that we were even... I knew we were branching out into it, but not to that level. So, yeah, interesting. Let us know what you think. Listeners at home, let us know if you think... What you think about this move that we're doing, whether other people are going to join us, we don't know.
I think the biggest thing for me is the fact that we're now getting our in-store staff trained as smoking cessation level 2, because that just gives that level of confidence to anyone that wants to come into one of our stores to try quitting smoking. And not only that, it gives in the climate that we live in, which they described thoroughly there, that it gives the confidence to smoking cessation services that they can refer their patients to us, knowing that they're going to get a great level of service and they are trained in that field.
Absolutely, it's fantastic, and I'm excited to see what 2019 brings. So we'll sit back and then we'll probably have a catch up with Liam and Chris at the end of the year.
See how it's gone.
Okay, so we're going to talk about some industry news.
Do we have to?
We do have to, yes. So we are not going to name any names. We are going to be completely impartial, but I think that we have to cover it on this because it has proverbially so kicked off in the vaping community, and a lot of people are talking about this. So we have just watched the video. I've just shown you this video that we're going to talk about now.
Subjected me to, I think, is possibly the best terminology.
Probably. So essentially what happened was a e-cig company decided to sponsor a video maker from the UK. They had seen in some of this video maker's videos that another person who also features was vaping. So they said, we're going to send some products to this person and we're going to sponsor one of your videos. So UK Video Maker is known as a prank channel. So they do pranks on their channel. That's all they do.
Yeah.
e-cig company sent the products over. The video was released. The video is interesting.
Interesting? Is that the word that we're using?
It is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. Taken away from the fact that it is obviously fake. Could it be potentially damaging? That's one of the things that we're going to talk about. So we will tell the listeners what happens in this video in as little detail as possible so that people don't, if they don't know, then we're not damaging someone's reputation.
Yeah, of course.
Unaccordingly. So they received their products. They said, this video is sponsored by X e-cig company. I'm really struggling because this is a real difficult one for me because this video is awful. So they received their products. This video is sponsored by X company. I'm going to prank the person who vapes with these products. That's what they said. And they said they're going to prank them by putting liquid helium into one of their e-cigs. So that's what they did. You've now seen the video. The video is fake for a couple of reasons. One, because liquid helium has to be at a minimum of minus 250 degrees C before it's liquid. So we know that that's not real.
But not everybody knows that isn't real.
Not everybody knows that that isn't real. I only know because I looked it up. I knew that there was something not right instantly because helium is obviously kept under pressure. Hence why it comes in those big pressurised containers and it's kept under pressure for a reason. I then confirmed that by talking to someone who is more chemistry minded than me, and they said absolutely not, you couldn't have liquid helium at room temperature. The video then goes on and it shows this person with e-cig company's device with what is supposedly liquid helium in it, and he is vaping it and their voice goes higher. Which is absolutely ridiculous because one, even if there was liquid helium in the e-cig, it would probably taste so foul that you wouldn't be able to vape it. Think how bad a burnt coil tastes as an example. And then add a chemical compound that's not meant to be vaped. Okay, so that's what happened anyway. They went through this ridiculous video that is so obviously fake and staged. We know this just by watching it. You've sat and just watched it then. You can see it's fake.
That's 5 minutes I'll never get back. I think it's to me it's blatantly obvious that they are not doing what they are portraying that they are doing.
So we as adults know that that's not real. But factor then into this scenario that their audience ranges from age 10 to 18.
Well, I can understand that their audience's age ranges from the age of 10, because, well, let's just get it put to one side. I didn't enjoy it. So, I mean, my issue with that, though, in their defence, would be that, yes, all right, we could potentially be showing children to do something that isn't going to be safe.
Yes.
Putting chemicals into an electronic cigarette that are not normally contained there and could be harmful to do so. One thing I would say, though, is if I was said vaping company, I would be looking at the content of the YouTube channel or YouTube program that I was going to be having sponsor my device, and I wouldn't necessarily think it to be a wise move for... I've not seen any of their other videos, but judging by the one, I wouldn't necessarily think it'd be a wise move to have my electronic cigarette product sponsored by these particular people. Regardless of the age group, you know, it's not putting you in a good light in my mind. And
herein comes the controversy. So, on the back of this video that was released, somebody picked up on it. And the first question, would you have known that video existed if I hadn't have shown it to you?
No.
Right, okay. So, neither would I. I wouldn't have known that video existed if the whole controversy surrounding it hadn't have kicked off. I wouldn't have ever known that existed as a video, which is my point. So now the vaping community has picked up on it. Boycott said e-cig companies, e-cigs. Some stores are coming out and saying, I will never sell this company again. I am going to remove them from my store, and I boycott this company. It's even gone as far as over to America, where people over there are putting pictures of them taking the stock off their shelves, and they're never going to stock this company again because how could they do this? It puts vaping in such a bad light. Okay, I get it. My point is, one, they would never have signed off on that content. I can't believe that an e-cig company would have turned around and gone, that'll do, here's our sign off.
No.
I don't believe that they knew what was in the video. That highlights another problem, is that they should be more controlled with what...
Well, it's due diligence, isn't it?
Absolutely.
If you're if whatever product you're selling, if you're getting somebody else to portray it in its best light possible to hopefully market yourself to a whole new audience of customers, then I would have my own stipulations on how that is to be portrayed crystal clear from the beginning.
Absolutely, and that is an issue that I'm assuming now they probably will address.
I don't think they'll make the mistake again.
Probably not, because it's for vaping drama, which does happen. This is one of the big ones. It's one of the ones that... Now, the video has now been removed from the biggest... There are other video channels available, but it's now been removed from YouTube. It's gone. Whether it was removed because the person doing the video removed it, or whether it was removed...
The electronic cigarette company in question
has asked them to remove it, or because so many people will have reported it, which they will have done. If you just search for this drama, there is so many response videos to it now. So many people on the back of it are jumping on it and saying how disgusting it is. In my opinion, let it die. I wouldn't have known that this video existed
if so much attention hadn't already been drawn to it. No, I completely get you there. The issue that I take with it is, for a massive oversight, it is a massive oversight. But this particular electronic cigarette company is obviously taking some serious flack. Now, it is an oversight of theirs, in my opinion, to allow their product to be advertised in such a manner.
Yeah.
Then again, you could also, I don't know whether I'm going to get shot for this, but you could also put it back to the audience and say, well, we all have the freedom to not watch what we don't like.
Yep.
Now, you could put forward the argument that this is possibly, especially with the level of humour involved in that video, that it's advertising to children. That's a fair point and something that we, of course, cannot advocate. But at the same time, we should be monitoring what our children are viewing online. And if it's inappropriate, then it shouldn't be watched. There's plenty of stuff out there. I think there's plenty of stuff out there that kids could access that isn't necessarily something that we would like them to be watching.
Fantastic. So that is where we end talking about industry news. We might bring this segment in, though, I think, possibly. Maybe not every time, but if there's something interesting to talk about.
Yeah, that sounds cool. So as long as I don't have to watch any more videos like that again, we're okay.
We'll ban those videos. How about that?
That's cracking. Let's leave that where it belongs.
In the trash.
Yes.
These opinions are that of mine and Tim, and not of
Totally Wicked.
Say hello to the stunning Totally Wicked Touch. Beautifully designed with an impressive digital LED display, responsive touchscreen and large integrated battery, the Touch is not to be missed. Check out our flagship product in-store or online today.
Okay, so it is shameless plugging time. I like shameless plug. I'm glad we did it in the first one. I think it's fun. Everybody knows what we're about to do. We're going to shamelessly plug something, Tim.
Yes, the clue is in the name.
And so we're going to shamelessly plug the Totally Wicked Touch.
This is an amazing new product that's going to sit at the pinnacle of all of our products in store. We have a 4,400 mAh integrated battery. It uses the EX atomizers, which are tried and tested in the EX2 and the EX Edge, the FX Pod. The brilliant atomizers, different resistances available for whether you're mouth to lung or direct lung vaping. And it's a cracking piece of kit.
I like it. I like the way it looks. I know you went straight for the spec.
Yeah.
I went straight for it's pretty.
It is pretty, and the size of the screen is amazing,
Yeah, I like that oversized screen. It's I've got one in front of me. I am going to pick it up. You can't see this, whoever's listening, but I have got one in my hand. Yeah, that screen it looks like a phone.
It does, yeah.
It looks like a phone. I like it. And I like the fact that the touchscreen is a feature that you can turn on or off.
Which is great, because sometimes with touchscreens, one of the issues that you'll get with them, which some of our listeners might know if they've had one themselves, is that if you don't have the ability to turn that off, you put it in your pocket and it ends up, because the fire button is touchscreen, it ends up burning out your atomizers because it's firing in your pocket. The fact that you can turn that off is excellent.
Yeah, so it's just 3 clicks, and then I can turn my wattage up and down. Can I just say another thing I like about this as well, is that it only has one setting. There is no temperature modes, there is no bypass modes, which are all great, and people use those features, but sometimes I just want to pick my e-cig up and vape it.
Yes.
I don't want to faff. I want to set what wattage I want, depending on what atomizer I've got in there, and then I want to vape it. I don't want to faff with it, and that's why I think it will be great for new vapors who want something that looks pretty cool, let's be honest. And it comes with 1.2 ohm atomizers as well, which is great for, it'll have a really good airflow and stuff with them.
That's one of the key advantages to it sitting, as the pinnacle of our product line, that it can be used. A lot of the time when you get these higher end products, they can only be used by direct lung vapors. The fact that you've got the option of an EX 0.5 to direct lung, and you've got the 1.2s that are provided with it, which gives you a nice smooth mouth to lung vape. It's cracking, very versatile.
Yeah, I really like it, and I'm excited for it to launch officially. It's coming soon at the moment, I think. It may have launched by the time we put this live. I'm not sure. It might still be coming soon. So it's brand new, really new. I think I've seen some feedback on social media so far when we posted it. It's been good.
Yeah.
There's not been one bad comment about it, which is great. But yeah, so that's what we are shamelessly plugging today, the Touch. So go and have a look. Before we go, though, I will say that just in our first episode, we were talking about gingerbread latte. and how customers were going to be so disappointed because it was limited edition, it's going to be disappearing. No, it's not, because we are adding it to the range.
They're introduced fully to the Red Label range.
So we do listen, listeners out there. So customer feedback was so good, and everybody loved it, that we went, we're going to keep it. So it's now a permanent edition. Who would have thunk it? That gingerbread latte would have been permanent. So yeah, so that is our shameless plug for this week. Go and check out the Touch, and if you haven't tried gingerbread latte yet, go and try it. Are you still vaping it?
I am. I've still got my bottle in my car.
Nice.
And don't forget that if you do want to try these products, we do not expect you in store to purchase anything without trying it first. So you can, the Touch will be available for demonstration, and gingerbread latte is available to test before you purchase.
I think that's always good to know. It's one thing that we do in our stores that I absolutely champion whenever I talk to anybody, because it means that there is never any pressure, which is always good. You can go in and try it. If you don't like it, it's like, oh, we've got this instead, do you want to try this?
Exactly.
So yeah, it's really good. So that was episode 2 of the Totally Wicked Vape Podcast. If you are a return listener who's already heard our first episode, thank you so much for coming back. If you are brand new to our vape podcast, welcome, and we hope you'll be back for the next one. We'll see you soon for episode 3. Don't forget to subscribe, because then you'll never miss out on me and the fabulous Tim. And if the mood takes you, please give us a rating. That would be fantastic. And Tim and I will see you soon. So see you next time.
Happy New Year.